It is perhaps the most famous fictional metal and the one that has been copied 1,000 times over, with knockoff versions popping up everywhere from World of Warcraft to the Final Fantasy series. The original is still the best. Yes, Mithril. Today on Fantasy Archive, we go over Middle-earth's precious and most sought-after resource. Who discovered this extraordinary metal? Were the mines of Khazad-dûm the only source of Mithril? What was so unique about it that even Sauron coveted it? Is there any more left? The beauty and durability of the metal ore Mithril remains undisputed in Tolkien's lore. The elves called the metal Mithril. It consists of two words in Sindarin, mith, meaning grey or light grey, and ril, which means glitter. It was indeed a precious metal, valued for its beauty, durability, malleability, and lightweight. Mithril was worth 10 times its weight in gold. The dwarves had their own name for it, which they never disclosed. It was also called Moria-silver, or true silver, although unlike silver, Mithril never tarnished or turned dull with wear and tear. Almost all the races of Middle-earth desired the precious metal, but the dwarves ran the monopoly in mining and trading of Mithril. Many settled around Moria like the Noldor elves of Eregion near the west gate of Moria. The Gwaithir Myrdain was a brotherhood led by Celebrimbor and were the greatest craftsmen of the Second Age. Unlike the Sindarin elves, the Noldor were friendly with the dwarves. Durin's people and the elves of Eregion had the closest relationship among any races in Middle-earth. Although the dwarves were the first to discover Mithril in Khazad-dûm, its origins were in the twilight of the First Age. Bilbo Baggins writes the Song of Eärendil, a song about Elrond's father's journey to Valinor to plead for the Valar's help in the fight against Morgoth. The ship he sailed was the Vingalot, which was made of mithril and elven glass. It was visible to the world as the morning and evening star. The Valar blessed the ship, and along with the greatest eagles, Eärendil fought and defeated Morgoth's greatest winged dragon, and Calagon the Black, in the War of Wrath. Khazad-dûm or Moria was an ancient underground complex in Middle-earth under the Misty Mountains. It consisted of a huge network of labyrinthian tunnels, mines, chambers, and halls. The discovery of Mithril by the dwarves of Khazad-dûm brought great wealth to the Longbeards of Moria. The ore was discovered in the Misty Mountains, in lodes leading north from the underground city of the dwarves. It went towards Mount Caradhras, and from there down to obscurity. Mithril was also found on the island of Numenor and could also be found in Aman, a continent west of Middle-earth where Valinor was located. The precious metal, along with other minerals like gold and gemstones, were mined by the dwarves of Khazad-dûm from solid rock. Moria's wealth was its mines. Most of Khazad-dûm was mined and expanded from east to west as its wealth grew. The mining left behind polished walls and was a dangerous job, but King Durin persevered and created the most famous mansions of the dwarves. The dwarvish community tunneled and carved through the west of the mountain range, all through to the east. The West Gate was designed by the elf master smith Celebrimbor, and was known as Durin's Gates. Moria became the sole supplier of Mithril when the kingdom of Numenor fell and the physical land of Aman was removed from the world. The value of Mithril rose to 10 times its weight in gold. The dwarves exploited the opportunity for over 2,000 years and began mining indiscriminately deeper and deeper. Far below the dwarves are the mines. In the depths were tunnels and lakes gnawed by nameless things that lay in eternal darkness. They were digging their own graves, as in the depths waited an evil, waiting to rise. In 1980 TA, the mining continued towards Mount Caradhras, and the dwarves unwittingly unearthed the Balrog, a demon of shadows and flame. King Durin VI was killed by the demon, and the Balrog earned its nickname Durin's Bane. All hell was let loose. The surviving dwarves fled their homeland and went into exile. The source of Khazad-dûm's wealth became the source of its doom. No one dared to enter Moria, except for some orcs and foul creatures sent by Sauron. The orcs did not dig for Mithril, rather they took those that were mined by the dwarves and gave them to Sauron. Mithril was now priceless. In its pure form, the metal was soft and flexible. Mithril could be mixed with other metals to form an alloy called Ithildin. This was made by the Noldor of Eregion. the alloy was not only very light, but tough and strong at the same time. It sufficed to mold perfect armor. Ithildin had a very unique quality. He could only be visible in starlight or moonlight. It was used by the elven mastersmith Celebrimbor and the dwarf Norvi for the decorative inlaid designs and writings on the doors of Durin. These doors are located on the west gate of Moria. The door was engraved with the designs of the emblems of Durin, the two trees of the High Elves, and the star of the House of Faina. The door required 2 passwords to unlock it. A password made the designs visible in the moonlight, and the second password was inlaid in the designs. Ithildin was also believed to be used in the creation of moon letters and moon runes. One example of moon runes is on Thror's map of the Lonely Mountain, which was discovered by Elrond. The elves used Mithril for its beauty and mostly for ornaments and attire. One of the most remarkable objects ever made in the Second Age was Nenya, which was one of the 3 elven rings of power. The ring was made of adamant stones set in Mithril. Besides the elves and the dwarves, the Númenóreans also desired Moria-silver. The Númenor king Tar-Telemate, whose name meant silver-handed, sent his servants out in constant search of Moria-silver. Balin tried to recolonize Moria with the dwarves, but he was defeated by the orcs. The objects that were made of Mithril around Middle-earth became priceless. One such priceless object is the shirt of Mithril made by the dwarves that Thorin gives Bilbo. Bilbo hands the shirt over to his nephew Frodo. On their journey through Moria, Gandalf tells them that the shirt's worth is greater than the entire Shire. True to its supernatural qualities, the shirt protects Frodo from the spear of an orc and the strike of an arrow. It is also this famous shirt that saves his life when Saruman attempts to stab him. Apart from Frodo's shirt, other objects of Mithril include the Númenórean heirlooms Elendilmir. It was made of white gems in Mithril and originally belonged to Silmarion, the daughter of Tar-Elendil, the 4th king of Númenor. It was passed down to the Númenórean lords of Andúni and was lost when Isildur was killed. A second Elendilmir was made by the elves of Rivendell for Isildur's son Valandil, which was passed down through generations to Aragorn. It was during his reign that the first Elendilmir was discovered by Saruman's servants. At Minas Tirith, the helmets of the guards of the citadel were considered heirlooms for the glory of the old days. Mithril was also used by Arwen to make the banner that was unfurled by Aragorn in the War of the Ring. The crown is the standard of Elendil and was embroidered in gold and Mithril. The last recorded use of Mithril is by a dwarf of Durin's folk, Gimli, the Lord of the Glittering Caves, along with the elves led by Legolas, who helped Aragorn restore the Great Gate of Minas Tirith, which was destroyed by the Witch King of Angmar. They forged great gates of Mithril and steel. Through the ages, Mithril became so rare that its use was rare. It was priceless and was mostly used by the elites. So where could all the Mithril that the dwarves mined before Durin's Bane go? There are only a few places Mithril could be found. Number 1. The land of Aemon, a continent that had once existed. It contained Valinor, home of the Valar, and also 3 kindreds of elves, the Vaenir, some of the Noldor, and Teleri. Bilbo Baggins' Song of Arendelle says the power of Aemon built Arendell's ship, of Mithril and of elven glass. Second, the island of Númenor, a kingdom of men. King Tar-Telemate of Númenor received his name, which means silver-handed, because he loved silver and always commanded his servants to search for Mithril. 3. Khazad-dûm, the mines of the largest hoards of the metal. And 4. Mordor. The ban of Valar prohibited Númenóreans and some Noldorian exiles from sailing towards Aemon. Númenóreans broke this ban by sailing there in search of immortality and attacking the Valar. And so came the Great Cataclysm, or changing of the world. Eru Ilúvatar decided to make the world round instead flat. He sank Númenor and removed Aemon from it. Therefore, the Mithril in the land of Aemon is out of reach. With the greatest cataclysm, the great island of Númenor was destroyed and fell beneath the sea, so Númenor took most of its treasures with it. It is probably safe to assume that most of the Mithril that the Númenóreans had collected throughout the Second Age was lost at that time. The Longbeard dwarves had access to vast trading networks through the other 6 dwarven kingdoms. Therefore, they could have distributed Mithril throughout Middle-earth. Nevertheless, after conquering most of Middle-earth, Sauron would have had access to the majority of the remaining Mithril. When the One Ring was destroyed, came the end of Mordor and the destruction of Barad-dûr, the Dark Tower. So the question remains, could any of the Mithril have survived after all the lava cooled down? While some believe this is possible, Tolkien doesn't have any mention of this. No dwarves ever settled in Mordor, so even if Mithril survived, there aren't those with the skills to mine it.